Cool. So got it, Dave. Thanks. And thanks for pressing the record button. So back to the story. So the story is we are engaged in a high stakes game. It's $1 billion a year game. If we were to throw AFRI on top of that, the competitive side, we're talking about $1.5 billion annually. So we, on the experiment station side, thought it was time to refresh our look. In fact, I might argue we never even had a look. We virtually had no identity. And so that's where this whole thing begins. Dave and I put together a slide deck, and we'll blow through that slide deck pretty quickly. Lynn will also provide you with a slide deck so you can post it, distribute it, or do whatever you wish to do with it.
Thanks.
And so Dave, if you could pop up that slide deck, and Dave and I will be your pilots for the next 45 minutes. So I'd ask you to fasten your seatbelts, return your tray tables to an upright and locked position, and everyone pay attention. And so the logo that you can see on the top of this slide really constitutes the basis of what our new look and our new feel is. So we've migrated from being the experiment station section and SCOP to Ag Innovation, science that feeds the world at our land grant universities. And so Dave, next slide. And so you might have, I suspect it, and we could do a quick reaction on this one. How many on the call have heard of the acronym SCOP? Just kind of curious. Will some have? Not many. Very few. A couple. Heather, thanks. So okay, so I'm seeing a couple.
4 or 5 thumbs up.
4 or 5
some
thumbs.
Claps. That's good.
Claps, no thumbs down. I was hoping that we might have gotten a thumbs down, because SCOP is the Experiment Station Committee on Organization and Policy. And that was really the executive committee for the Experiment Station section. We had an old logo. It looked like, I don't know, folks, we work with some focus groups on this. One of our focus groups thought it looked like a pig and a pineapple, and that's this thing here. We know that logo hadn't been updated in over 40 years, and in fact, nobody really knows where the logo came from. The term SCOP is some 60 years old. We had a website associated with SCOP, all of which was inward facing, and really we were our own best kept secret. And we thought it was time to modernize, to come up with something that is visually appealing, more engaging, and something that is easier to understand than an acronym. And that is now Ag Innovation, science that feeds the world. So next slide, Dave. We've also developed an outwardly facing website. Dave is going to give us a drive through that website. Again, it's visually appealing, and it helps us to tell the story of the agricultural experiment stations, the agricultural experiment stations located at our land grant universities across the country. And we are hoping that this presentation is really a call to action for you as the business officers. We are seeking for you to help us tell your story and to help us tell our story. And so the next couple of slides really show what our purpose is. We promote and elevate agricultural research that improves lives and makes the world more food secure. And then our vision is enhancing human and world well-being through agricultural innovation. And then comes the why. Why have we wanted to change our brand? Well, it was crystal clear to us that we were stale. and that there were a number of organizations across the country located at our land-grant universities that had heard the clarion and modernized their look and their feel. Michigan State's Agricultural Experiment Station is now Ag Bio Research. As an Aggie, I'm a Texas A&M grad. Texas A&M moved from Texas Agricultural Experiment Station to Texas AgriLife. And for our colleagues at Cornell, the New York State Agricultural Experiment Station is now known as Cornell Agritech. And that has all been an effort to try to eliminate then the plethora of acronyms that we currently throw around. So Dave, next slide. So I want you to look at that, look at the acronyms on the right-hand side of the screen. And I'd ask, how many of you can identify 5 of those? I'm going to pause for a second. How many of you can identify 5 of those? Okay, so I got 1,
Maybe 2.
2,
A few.
a few. So maybe 3, 4. But what's crystal clear is that many can't. And what we know is that we know that acronyms are exclusionary language. Listen to the way that we talk to ourselves in inner circles and then bring in an outsider, and we sit back and we talk in terms of NACRA, BAA, CFR, SCOP, APLU, Banner, ICOP, Oz. I mean, it becomes ununderstandable. And there's a significant power dynamic associated with that. And what we want to do is we want to eliminate that power dynamic so that we're all operating off of the same operating system. The one thing that we know and is crystal clear is that ag is essential and ag is for everyone. So next slide, Dave. The other thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to help future-proof agriculture. Sit back and SCOP, the experiment station, is a historic institution. Got 120 years of history. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we respect the past. But as we think about respecting the past, we need to look to the future. And we need to look to the future to ensure that our funding lines and that the investment in agriculture continues and it continues to grow. We want legislators in Washington to understand why it's important to invest in agriculture. And it's not a simple story to tell, because as we think about investing in agriculture, in agricultural research, which is really what we all do here in the experiment stations, is that there is a lag time between the initial investment in the research and the time that productivity changes. We know that research is shared with potential users. Research is then developed, then has to diffuse into potential users, and then those users have to adopt it. And frequently there is up to a 20-year lag. But the other thing that we know is even though there's a 20-year lag, there's also a very long period of use by the technologies, by the knowledge base that's created by the research that our land-grant universities are undertaking. And that our land-grant universities are undertaking for the public good. Got a trivia, I got a neat little tidbit that I wanted to share with you all, and that is, did you know that the state agricultural experiment stations, or the experiment stations section, or as we now call it, ag innovation, is responsible for 75% of the publicly funded research here in the United States. We are a tour de force, and you are important cogs within that machine of innovation. And so what we are trying to do is to future-proof ag, to future-proof our look and our feel. So that individuals, Congress is willing to make that investment. Because what we know is that for every dollar that's spent on ag R&D, it typically returns $20 to the economy. So go for it, Dave. Jump in.
No, I think you kind of said what I was going toward when it comes to approaching Congress. We wanted to be able to answer the question, who are we? Who are you? What is ag innovation, without jumping into a 118-year-long history lesson. And so, like Rick said, we want to honor the history and the legacy of this, but we want to lead off with the innovative science and the future of what we're capable of. And so this is a way of articulating our identity in a more exciting, refreshing, and succinct way in order to grow our reputation, exposure, and credibility with legislators, influencers, and anyone else who might be a stakeholder. You ready for the next slide?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
So Dave, there's a part of the, do you want to do the next slide, or I can do the next slide?
Well, there was a nice segue there.
Yeah, go for it.
Failure of stakeholders to adopt. So this is a way of getting our image and our reputation out in front of stakeholders. And so the erosion of geopolitical status, that's one of the things that we've internally determined is a priority. And we've also heard from external groups is a priority for us to make sure that we maintain a strong international reputation in terms of what we're capable of and the investment that we're making in agriculture. We've been a top performer in the globe since our founding, but we also know that there are other countries in both Europe and in Asia, China in particular, that have more public investment or increasing public investment in agricultural R&D when comparing with the United States. And so just maintaining our relevance and our competitiveness, we think that ag innovation is going to help us along in that effort. Rick, do you have anything to add on this slide?
No, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. It's China, India, and the EU are investing more in ag R&D than is the US. And that was an inflection point that we passed almost a decade ago. And so we're really seeking ways to increase the investment in agricultural R&D.
While we are not political government affairs consultants, we know that politically this plays well kind of across the country and across bipartisan lines. And so the notion of the United States continuing its commitment to this is something that we think can bring everybody together as we promote the experiment stations. So we have been involved in a creative process, which involved both administrators, communications creative consultants, and also communicators at some of our institutions. One of which we know that Stacy Stearns from UConn will be joining us tomorrow. We're really excited to be joined by her. But we've been equipped with a whole suite of tools, templates, graphic materials to help us display our brand in a number of different ways, including this presentation. Rick?
Sure, thanks, Dave. And
Yeah.
what I'd share with all of our NEMO colleagues is that if there is a pro on our Zoom call today that knows the ins and the outs of the ag innovation materials, it's Dave. He's been at the forefront. In fact, he serves as the Ag Innovation webmaster right now and knows these materials inside and out. So I would share with you that um, from our perspective, we have a host of materials available for your use as you wish, including our executive summary, key talking points. And I want to pause for a minute and share with you why access to those materials is important. And I want to use a metaphor, and that metaphor relates to leagues and relates to conferences. And so I don't know whether we've got any sports fans here on the Zoom call, but I will tell you, I am a total sports junkie. I follow all of your institution sports, and I'd share just had an incredible sports weekend, watching what's going to happen with the college football playoffs. And if you look at the college football playoffs, it becomes no secret that all of our institutions belong to a conference. And I'm hoping that what you might see is your institution belonging to not just the Ivy League or Conference USA or the Big Ten, but your institution belongs to NERA. Every single one of your directors are directors in the Northeastern Regional Association of State Agricultural Experimentation Directors. It's a regional association. The regional associations have an umbrella national organization, and that umbrella national organization is Ag Innovation. So that we're hoping that what might be right on the tip of your tongue is that, here it is. I'm at Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. We're proud members of NERA and proud members of Ag Innovation. It's the conference in which you play. And so Ag Innovation is the conference, and we provide a bunch of materials then to help you in developing a conference identity. And you do that as much or as little as you wish. Dave, next slide.
And we know that that's already taking place, or historically has taken place, on the extension side. And so extension has an identity throughout your state, in many of your counties. And so we have a counterpart identity here on the research side, in which you are all members of, and that's Ag Innovation. So we have this executive summary drafted. We won't read through the whole thing right now, but we're happy to provide that to you. Can even maybe provide print copies if you are interested, but that's posted on the website. The tools, templates, and brand guidelines. There's a link to this whole suite of materials at the footer of the aginnovation.info website. Anyone is invited to use these as much as you want. We encourage you to slap your university's logo onto one of these to give it co-branding with Ag Innovation. We're not trying to supersede any institutional branding, but like Rick said, create something that everyone's proud to display side by side. Communication templates. Examples of all of these are included on the tools and templates page on the website. Just a really nice resource. We've been trying to use them as consistently as we can as well, Rick and I.
Yep. And Dave, I was wondering if we could, before we do the what now, and the what now really is our call to action to you as business officers to help us get the word out. But I'm wondering, Dave, if you could just pop up the new website for a moment to give folks a look and a feel for who we now are.
Okay, so the new website that we have created, and it's fully launched, is aginnovation.info. We encourage you to visit the website. It's got a much more vibrant look and feel compared to the old SCOP website. We've got some taglines: science that feeds the world, science for a better tomorrow, science for a better world, science for. I think we're coming up with new and developing new and creative ways to adapt this tagline. We've got a map here which broadly displays the impact of the agricultural experiment station system, with presence in every state, many states having the presence of multiple stations due to either 2 stations in a state or the co-stations of the 1890 and 1862 experiment station system. We have some links underneath the maps to drive you to one. We have a more detailed map, and then we also have websites where impact statements are displayed. When we spoke about a month ago at the planning call, it seemed like everybody was either aware of or working in the National Land Grant Impacts database to some degree on both the research and the extension side. And so we're going to be hearing a little bit more about that tomorrow from Stacy Stearns at UConn and Sarah Delheimer of the Multi-State Research Fund Impacts Program. But we use those as the primary showcases for impact. And so we like to drive people to both of those resources right from Ag Innovation. Our work displays some of the priority areas where the experiment station directors have dedicated their initiatives to. And the priority areas kind of continue upon that in more specific targeted ways. Our regional associations display NERA and its counterparts. One of the things that we're working toward as part of this co-branding effort is exploring the opportunity to perhaps brand together as geographic regions of Ag Innovation. So the Western region has pursued the Ag Innovation West name and so forth. And then news and announcements. Rick, should we go into this now? Is this a good time to go into the news and announcements?
Absolutely, Dave.
Okay. So news and announcements is a section where we've periodically been trying to share stories from all of the regions, and institutions have been submitting those stories to us on successful awards, successful initiatives at their experiment station, any showcase materials that you'd like to give a little bit of a national broadcast to. And we encourage you to submit those. That's one of our primary calls to action for this group and for the institutional administrative officers and communicators is share your stories with us. If you have a success story that you think deserves national recognition, while we do a little bit of crawling of your websites, we want to hear from you, and we'd love to give your institution some exposure on the Ag Innovation website. We always give full attribution to the author of any story that's published at an institution, and image credits and so forth. But we've used this as a way to just give some national exposure to the great work that's going on in all of your institutions. Ruby asked the question if this website has replaced the SCOP homepage. The answer to that is yes and no. So yes, we want the public to come to the aginnovation.info website, and we're committed to that. The reason I say not quite is because the SCOP website still exists, and it exists as an internally facing archive of materials for the experiment station directors to go back and look at, basically committee minutes, committee activities, rules of operation. We've stripped the business functions of the experiment station directors out of the Ag Innovation identity, because that's not particularly relevant to the public, or that's what we determined was not particularly relevant to the public and to legislators. And so this is really the front-facing website and the one that we're excited about sharing with folks. But scop.info also exists still. We just kind of keep that one close to home. And so the drop-down menus, if you hover across the top of the website, they are basically going to lead you to some of the same places that the links throughout the website lead you to. So our work down below will lead you to the our work page in the header. And so you can't break anything on the website. We encourage anybody that wants to visit to click around, visit, take a look at what we're up to. our priority areas. We're working on a directory so that you can see a listing of all of the administrators at all institutions across all regions of Ag Innovation. We echo some of the language in our purpose, vision, mission statements throughout the website in different ways. At the footer of the website, this is on every page, the tools and templates link is listed that we were talking about before. And so the tools and templates, it has a whole bunch of different materials. There are webinars on how to use some of the materials. There are brand guidelines for using logo files and creating blog posts and articles, virtual backgrounds. Some folks have put institutional logos on these. It's been successful. Event flyers. I'm not sure if anyone here was on a recent webinar. We hosted a best practice webinar a few weeks back under the banner of Ag Innovation. We've been using this to advertise our materials. Social media graphics, Instagram graphics, YouTube thumbnail art, presentations in both Canva and PowerPoint. Canva is, for anyone that's not familiar with it, it's a cloud-based design platform that's similar to PowerPoint, but it's just not a Microsoft desktop program. And of course, you've got PowerPoint slides too. That's sort of what we've adapted to create today's slide deck. So letterhead, fact sheets, all that is available for everybody to adapt if interested. Of course, the news link will bring you directly to those blog posts that we've shared from some of the institutions. So we advertise our webinar, we advertise the Excellence Awards. We've got some stories that other regional communicators groups have drafted for us, and we've shared that. The Southern region of communicators came together to write a story about turf grass initiatives at the different institutions down there just prior to football season, or just around the time when football season had started. We had featured a story from the University of Maryland at one point, and we're trying to give the regions all representation, but we will share anything that is shared with us and that has significance. Rick, can you think of any other features of the website that we should show off? There's a web accessibility feature. I guess I should bring some attention to that. We've installed something called Userway at the top of our page that gives a whole bunch of accessibility features as like part of the widget that Userway is. I know there's some customization as to what we can pick and choose to include here, but this does provide a lot of different options, from text reading on the screen, dyslexia friendly fonts. You can see hiding images, color contrast changes. It covers a lot of bases. I can't say it's like fully accessibility compliant, but it covers a lot of what we have come to know as the web accessibility issues that some of our institutional websites face. So we're excited about having that. We have the option to translate the website into different languages. And so while this is an automatic, I probably Google Translate based translation, and it's not going to be necessarily perfect to a native speaker, it does a pretty good job. We've been told, and we also feel that it does a pretty good job in extending the website to people who may have English as a second language. And so using this as a supplement to the English facing side of the website is another, just, it's in the realm of accessibility and something that we're excited about. Back to English here. So that's the Ag Innovation website. Ruby, thank you for your comment. I do think that there is some bridging that has to happen. I agree, between SCOP and Ag Innovation. We don't have any references to either website on either website. And while we do want to keep the SCOP website close to home, it lives. It certainly lives for now. So we're going to find a way to thoughtfully do that. Thank you for calling that out. I think that is important. Even if it is subtle, we do need to include that somewhere. So thank you. There have been Any other questions or anything, or we can kind of jump back into the slide deck?
Or Dave, you know what I might suggest is we pull the website down and we
Sure.
can summarize. We don't have to go back to the slide deck.
Okay.
But I'd share with everyone here that we are in the throes of evolving, and we are hoping to employ your help. And in employing that help, the experiment station section is now known as Ag Innovation. Our website is live. If you have an opportunity to use it, please use it. We're developing supporting collateral. If you have stories that you want to tell, we can help you tell those stories. And the reverse is also true. We're also seeking a trademark on ag innovation, and so that is in process right now. And we are currently in the throes of executing our full rollout and socialization and deployment of our toolkits. And so we're all busy. We're busy working on the experiment station side. I know that every single one of you is busy in your business office doing the business of your experiment station, doing the business of cooperative extension, and we absolutely thank you for the work that you do. I mean, one can have all the money in the world, but if you can't deploy it, it's like having nothing. And you guys are the ones that help make all of that happen. You are the magicians, and in fact, as a former director of an experiment station and a faculty member at the University of Rhode Island, for our business officers, you were always the one that made the magic happen. You allowed us to spend our money to do the good work that we do. And it should never be a problem for a researcher, for a cooperative extension educator to have fun, to have trouble spending their money. And you guys do that so well. So that Dave and I are happy to answer any questions about the Ag Innovation brand. I am excited that Sarah Delheimer and Stacy Stearns will be joining us tomorrow to talk about the National Impact Database, to talk about research impact writing. I'd also go on to share that your directors, both Experiment Station and Cooperative Extension, have helped to draft a roadmap for agriculture over the next decade here in the Northeast. It's called the Northeast Agenda. That Northeast Agenda is posted on the NERA website. Take a look at that, because it is a document that really looks at agriculture from probably 25,000 feet and represents then the common denominators among our institutions across the Northeast. And so with that, Lynn, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Dave, chime in.
Yeah, well, Rick mentioned I'm the webmaster. I do serve as the webmaster of the Ag Innovation website, so I'm happy to take anybody's feedback on the website too. If you see something that needs to be changed, we can make that happen. We're consistently working to refine the content. We've had some people asking us good questions from the outside about, how do you answer the question of who you are? We had that, to go back to some earlier comments. We used to have like a long history lesson that jumped into, and we're working on a more succinct way to kind of flip that around and make it more approachable for everybody. This is also not the last you'll be hearing from us. I don't know that we'll be presenting at NEROC, but we've planned to have some representation there in the form of a booth or table and some swag materials. So you might see like a coaster like this at some time along the line. Or something of that nature, some kind of swag item of that nature. We're going to be set up at NEROC to answer questions and promote the brand a little bit further with everybody beyond this group. I don't know that every business officer group has had the opportunity to hear from us. The West has, at least. But
well, t-shirts would be good. So you'll see people walking around wearing Ag Innovation. It says used to be ESCOP. No.
So
I like
Ruby,
that.
I always like a good
Audience at
pun.
NERAC, and I'm glad you mentioned that, David, because that's you have a captive audience there. The directors, I think, already know about it at that level, but not the pawns, the people who are really
Oh, no.
this, when I attended the joint session meeting in Annapolis, that was the first time I heard of it. My director hasn't even mentioned ag innovation. And I said, oh, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. So how many more people like me have not heard about this ag innovation? And, so if you give away t-shirts, I volunteer to wear one of those and walk around NERAC wearing an ag
That is
innovation t-shirt.
that is super. I'll be wearing one too. If we can turn that around, I'll be wearing one too. I'm glad you mentioned that, Ruby. I want to quickly jump to this slide here because you're right. When you heard about ag and root, so Ruby, to give everybody a little context, the University of Maryland hosted the summer meeting of research and extension directors, along with CARET delegates in Annapolis, Maryland, back in June.
For
And
the
one of the
Northeast,
things
just the
for the
Northeast.
Northeast, for just the Northeast. And we had an opportunity to talk in our business meeting, really, the NERA business meeting, about ag innovation in the brand. And we consider the NERA business meeting like the closest circle, if you will, in a series of nested circles, where that's the inner circle of ag innovation. And since then, we've developed this timeline for rolling the brand out to a bunch of different groups. And so since the NERA directors have heard about it, we've conducted a few webinars with different groups, communicators, with deans, and we had a webinar for NIFA too. Rick, did we have any others? I know we had a communicators webinar, a NIFA webinar, and a webinar for other directors. And so the administrative officers here, we just consider that another phase of the rollout. And so we're slowly working out to those broader audiences. And yeah, Ruby, you definitely got one of the first peaks at the brand, and we've got some more socialization to do. And we're continuing that socialization into the kind of winter 24. So the beginning of next year, kind of through the spring. When the springtime hits, we like to think that we have completed the series of rollout webinars, and we can just start really developing creative materials and just having a little bit of fun promoting the brand from going forward from there after once we get people on board and familiar with the whole thing. So we do have a lot of socialization left to do, and NERAC is going to be an awesome opportunity for that.
Yeah, we've done presentations for the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities, the APLU. But what we absolutely know is we know that we cannot over-communicate this, and that you will be hearing about it frequently, I hope, and that once you are believers and drinking the Kool-Aid and wearing the t-shirt and the hats and parading out the swag on a regular basis, we will consider you to be members of the inner circle. And so please join Dave and I in the inner circle as we promote ag innovation and the work of your scientists, because it's your scientists and your institutions that are the stars of the show. Ag innovation is it's an umbrella organization, but it's an umbrella organization under which all of the research arms of the land-grant universities are located. And so thanks a bunch for your help, and thanks again for all that you do, and thanks for the opportunity to share this with you. To feel a little bit like that Southern Baptist minister where we're going to tell you what we're going to tell you, and then we're going to tell you, and then we're going to tell you what we told you, and we're going to continuously do that. So look forward to future conversations with you. Thanks a bunch. Thanks a bunch, Lynn.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. So I'll just take a minute here, see if anyone has any questions before Rick and Dave sign off.
I'll just say great job on the rebranding. And it does take the repetition for a good while and celebration of it. So I did have a question about the NERAC or the conference that it keeps coming up, but is there information that it could be in the chat about when it is or what it is? A few folks have been mentioning
I'm glad
it.
you asked.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're definitely going to cover that in our next session in the business meeting.
It's sort of very quickly, it's the national conference for this group. So all the counterpart administrative officer groups are invited to that. It's also probably we've historically considered it the premier FaceTime opportunity for administrative officers to have with NIFA at a national meeting. And so it's the National Extension and Research Administrative Officers Conference. And that's NEROC. That's yet another acronym that we throw around all the time. NERAOC. It's going to be hosted by University of Delaware. I don't want to give too many more details on their behalf, so I'll open the floor up to Cindy and Ruby, who's on the planning committee.
Well, that would be a good segue, Lynn, don't you think, for Cindy to talk about NEROC? But it's
Yeah, definitely.
hosted by University of Delaware and Delaware State University.
Yes.
For many, many years. I'm exaggerating, but it's been so difficult to find a host in our region. And Cindy, stepped in and say, okay, we'll do it in Delaware. And we're so happy that Delaware is hosting it. So Lynn, do we give the ball to Cindy?
Yeah, I think we're ready for that. I just, again, want to thank Rick and Dave for that great presentation. And I'm sure that everyone's going to be going over to your website and checking it out, and look forward to hearing more about it. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I had a quick question about the Ag Innovation site itself. I don't know if this is kind of stepping ahead to tomorrow about the impacts. I noticed it links out to the National Impacts database, which I will have to say New Jersey is not populated there, unfortunately, because it was one of those things where I thought it went away and thought it came back. But is there going to be any plan to populate more of the regular patch projects and other kind of like the non-multi-state ones on the Ag Innovation rather than linking out? Or
so Rick.
Oh, it did look like you were getting ready to, you're right on the edge of your seat, Dave,
so
but Diane,
let
me, the irony of all of this is that Dave is located about 3 feet away from me, and the only thing that separates us is a very thin wall. I can actually hear him talking in the office next to mine. So the answer, Di, is we are looking for sources of stories. Okay. And when we originally created the new Ag Innovation website, we knew that the National Impact Database and the MRF, right, which is the impact database for the multi-state research funds, were places that we could go to immediately, and that's what we used. Hopefully what we will be able to do is to expand our story base, and in expanding the story base, would love to expand the story base out into, sort of that what used to be called CRIS, as well as being able to provide video associated with all of the stories. So there's a part of this where it's stay tuned, more to come.
Okay, thank you.
Take it away, Dave.
You covered it perfectly. I was just going to say, in terms of driving people to a source of impacts, we really only considered the national database and the multi-state research fund impacts database, Sarah Dahlheimer's project, in terms of linking. But in the news section, for now, we can share success stories from experiment stations beyond just things that are very strictly Hatch multi-state. And then in the future, we are looking to incorporate more vibrant multimedia impacts into the website. But that's kind of like a stay tuned, as Rick said, for now. Any other questions? Happy to take questions. You can also email us as well. I'll send you the link to the NERA website. We'll save the chat transcript from this session along with a list of attendees. We share it with Lynn so that when we compile something to send back out to the group after the meeting, everyone will have that in hand.
Yeah, thanks. A lot of change is happening, but I think it's a good time for it. We also have a lot of new staff joining us in the research and extension administrators group. So I think that this is a good timing to have the change. And let's see how that works out with us. We'll get more information tomorrow on the impact database and how we in our positions can help feed stories to both Ag Innovation and the national database.